Good morning, and buenos dias, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Society of Schenectady. I'm going to pause so you can actually say it. Good morning.
Good morning.
Sorry, I interrupted you. Well, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Society of Schenectady. I'm Reverend Wendy Bartell, and I am fortunate to serve as co-minister here along with my fabulous spouse, Reverend Lynn Gardner. If you're visiting us for the first time or returning after a while, we offer you an especially friendly welcome. We hope for a chance to say hello to you after the service, and then you're invited to share in some refreshments in the back of the hall. We usually stand around this area after the service if you want to come say hi. And if you're on Zoom, we hope you will say hello to one another in the Zoom sanctuary there before you head out into your day. In Unitarian Universalism, we affirm the importance of a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. The notions of truth and meaning might be theological in nature. What you believe about divinity, God or not God, or what you understand about our human life's purpose. It might be sociological. You hope to find a place where you feel like you belong, where others share similar values to you, even if we don't all agree on everything. It might be political. You're feeling overwhelmed by the erosion of due process, the Constitution, or democracy itself. Perhaps it is personal. You want to understand yourself better and how to have interpersonal relationships with other people who are trying to be better themselves and or working to make things better for people and beings beyond these walls and for the earth. Or perhaps it's some combination. Our June theme is Beauty in Community, and today's specific title is Rainbows Have Nothing to Hide, as we celebrate the beauty of the LGBTQIA+ community and our allies. We are growing here in our practices of inclusion, and that looks a lot of different ways. One practice is the invitation to share one's pronouns when we introduce ourselves, rather than assuming one another's gender identity, because most of us know that gender is a broad spectrum. Reverend Lynn has come to know herself as a cisgender woman who is comfortable with she, her, and they, them pronouns as a means of expanding the narrow ideas of what it is to be a woman. I, Reverend Wendy, have come to know myself as being genderqueer, gender expansive, if you will, and thus far, no pronouns in popular usage fit for me when being referred to in the third person. So it's much better for me if you use my name rather than pronouns when referring to me. He or they or she are just too small, too restrictive. It's almost like wearing shoes that don't fit.
And now we invite you to settle a bit more fully into your seats or wherever you find yourself if you are here on Zoom as we receive the gift of our next breath, our next moment shared together. A flaming chalice is a symbol of Unitarian Universalism, and the light of inspiration held in a cup of community, justice, and love. This morning, Carolyn Griffith and Jensen Pritchard will kindle our chalice as Barbara Cornell shares these words from our colleague, the Reverend Hannah Roberts Villeneuve.
People sometimes ask, is pride a protest or a party? And the answer is, of course, yes. And why not? Why not rejoice as we resist, dance as we demand change, celebrate as we create community that delights in all of who we are? So bring all of that with you this morning. Bring your policy demands, bring your glitter, bring your Supreme Court broken heart, bring your rainbow socks. Bring the emptiness you feel for our siblings gone too soon. Bring your Gloria Estefan remix. Bring your tender hope for change. Bring your most garish eyeshadow. Bring your spirit tattered and battered by a world that seems insistent on choosing fear and hate. Gather up all these things and bring them here to a place where we don't have to shoulder these burdens or celebrate these joys alone. Come, let us worship together.
This morning, our opening hymn is from our new online hymnal. The words will appear on the screen. Soren Osterfeld is a trans composer serving as a music director in a UU congregation in Massachusetts. Let us rise in spirit and or in body to sing We Will Carry Each Other. Our fabulous music director, Maria Elmer, will play it through one time, and then we will join in singing.
Blessing can be described as an affirmation or encouragement for well being. From having listened to many of you, we know that there is so much that weighs on your hearts, creates stress in your life, and leaves you feeling overwhelmed, uncertain, frazzled, or worried some days. For yourselves, for those you love, for all those who are suffering. And so this morning, we offer a blessing that is encouragement for well being. Let's take some time to allow our bodies to settle in a bit more fully, to invite our shoulders to drop down, our gaze to soften, or eyes to gently close, to consciously lengthen each exhalation, remembering that each inhalation connects us to life in forests and wetlands, oceans and prairies. Each breath connects us to the amazing rainbow array of people on this precious earth. I offer this adapted blessing from Sister Sweet Suffering Tea, a fully professed sister of perpetual indulgence, who is also known as Tim Atkins, a UU religious education professional. Blessed are the fabulous, for they remind the world that life is meant to be lived in color. Blessed are the broken-hearted, for they will find chosen family to hold them together. Blessed are the drag queens, the leather daddies, the femmes, the butches, the bears, the twinks, and all beyond and between, for they show us the endless creativity of love. Blessed are those who have been told they are too much, for they will discover they are exactly enough. Blessed are the lovers who kiss on sidewalks, for they make the streets holy ground. Blessed are the ones who glitter, who dance, who vogue, who sing off key in karaoke bars, for there is the kingdom of joy. Blessed are the elders who paved the way, for we follow in the freedom of their work. Blessed are the young ones still figuring it out. Blessed are their parents, for the world is wide enough for all of their becoming. Blessed are we, the whole queer family, for love is our birthright and joy is our inheritance. Blessed are the families, the friends, the neighbors, the congregations, and the communities who affirm the beauty of each person among them. Blessed are those with open minds and open hearts who do the work to transform biases into understanding, division into connection, and fear into love. Blessed are we, each and all. And how could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? Let us share some quiet time together, with time for this blessing to move and settle among us, and for the meditations that may reside in our hearts.
Do you happen to know what the Muppets, Beaker, Scooter, and Statler have in common? I didn't either before a few days ago. Richard Hunt saw Jim Henson and the Muppets on TV and thought they looked fun. There's a wonderful video created by Mark Baum from which I'm excerpting details here. I learned from Mark Baum about some of the origin story for Jim Henson, who was creating small Muppet productions in the 60s and early 70s for a show called Sam and Friends. Anybody remember seeing that? Those of you who were here then, they were just like 5-minute shorts that would appear on television. Kermit wasn't even actually a frog yet, was still just sort of forming. But the Muppet characters were catching on, and Henson would start doing commercials and late-night TV spots, which, when viewed now, seem to resemble lip-sync drag numbers. Eventually, the Children's Television Workshop and Jim Henson collaborated, and Sesame Street was launched in 1969, and wildly successful on TV and at live events. They were working around the clock to produce the first season of 130 episodes to help kids learn the alphabet, how to count, how to be kind, and how to meet all kinds of people and other monsters and characters. One day, a talented young actor, Richard Hunt, learned that Sesame Street was filmed just a few miles from his house. So he drove from New Jersey to New York City, found a payphone, and called to ask if Sesame Street was hiring. We don't do that way anymore usually, but according to Mark Malm, Richard Hunt blew them away in his audition. At first, he played more behind-the-scenes character like the flying bats over the Count's head. One bat, ha, ha, ha. And the back end of Snuffleupagus. And the right hand of Ernie. And quickly moved into named characters like Bert's nephew, Brad, and Gladys the cow. Richard was young and loved being the center of attention, and he was in New York City just after the Stonewall Uprising began, and queer folks were less and less closeted and finding more and more joy in being who they were. But there was also backlash in the wider country. The Briggs Initiative in California was going after teachers who were perceived as gay. Though it failed, it still made many folks cautious. And Sesame Street avoided overtly gay content, at least mostly, and when asked, denied that Ernie and Bert were anything more than roommates. Eventually, Jim Henson and Frank Oz were working on a new show that would air in the evening and have more adult humor mixed in, and The Muppet Show was born. Guests like Liberace and Elton John and little one-liners inserted by some of the characters like Bunsen and Beaker in the science lab, Ms. Piggy, and Statler and Waldorf, who were in the balcony critics heckling folks, brought a bit more of that humor, at least for those in the know, recognizing some of the other types of humor that were there. We know Jim Henson and Frank Oz, many of us. Those names are relatively familiar. At the height of the show, more than 230 million viewers tuned in to The Muppet Show when you had to wait a week for the next episode. Behind the scenes were real people living real lives. Richard Hunt, who brought many of those beloved characters to life, was a young, out queer man. His Muppets would grow to fame, like Scooter, the stage manager on The Muppet Show, Beaker in the lab, who spoke mostly with sounds rather than words, Janice from the band that played for The Muppet Show, hey man, and Gladys the cow, who was rather a British form, sort of reminds me of some of the early Eddie Izzard, who now goes by another name, which I can't think of. Eddie Izzard. What's Eddie's new name? Sally? Susie. Thank you. Susie, formerly known as Eddie Izzard, British comedian, and so many others. In 1979, Jim Henson, Frank Oz, Richard Hunt, and others would create the first Muppet movie. And most of us would not recognize the person behind the Muppet if we saw him. He was part of Jim Henson's next project as well, Fraggle Rock, whose goal was to teach kids how to live in harmony with each other, to create a more peaceful world. Richard Hunt was professionally thriving, even as AIDS was starting to decimate the gay community in New York City. An episode in Fraggle Rock leaned into loss, teaching viewers about grief and how important it is to remember loved ones. It was powerful for a lot of viewers. Richard Hunt was a key part of that episode in 1987, as he was experiencing his own profound losses, as many of the cast were. Today, as the people in power try to erase Unitarian Universalism and 179 other religious identities from the military this week by lumping us all in as other, to erase transgender people from existence, to reinforce antiquated gender roles, we are gathered on this gorgeous June morning in 2026 as Unitarian Universalists. We are gathered as cisgender people and transgender people and intersex people. We are gathered as bisexuals, gays, heterosexuals, lesbians, queers, asexuals, questioning individuals, and a whole lot of other identities. We are gathered together, celebrating who we are, all of us, and who we are striving to become, because we affirm beauty in community. The rainbow is a great symbol, dazzling us with the full spectrum of color, united as one display, as light refracts through drops of water. Rainbows have nothing to hide, and neither do we.
Why are there so many songs about rainbows, and what's on the other side? Rainbows are visions, but only illusions. Rainbows have nothing to hide. Some may bring joy and some choose to be needed, but on their own wait and see. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the wonders, the dreamers and me.
Today, we amplify some other people's voices as we launch into Pride Month. The Catholic Church names pride as one of the deadly sins. That's a different kind of pride. That pride is about putting oneself above God or an arrogance of superiority and self importance. LGBTQ plus pride is about surviving and thriving. It's about loving oneself even as others wish you to do otherwise. It's about being like a rainbow with nothing to hide. For far too many decades, centuries even, people who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and or queer were not welcome in religious community, not welcome to be fully themselves. Unitarian Universalism as a faith has been affirming and welcoming, at least on paper and in policy, for decades. But that doesn't mean that we always get it right in actual practice. Reverend Charles Slapp, who served this congregation, was asked not to come out. And there are still some folks who are less welcoming, maybe even afraid. So strong are teachings of conformity. Thankfully, the vast majority understand that interdependence means that when more of us are welcome, when more of us thrive, when more of us are well, then more of us are whole. When we expand gender expression, it makes more space for all of us to be who we are. When we expand sexual orientation grounded in consent and love, it makes more space for all of us to love whomever we love, spreading more love and acceptance in the world. Victoria Safford, a retired UU minister and writer, has a collection of reflections called Walking Toward Morning. In her piece called Any Other Questions?, she wrote as a straight cis woman and refers to the congregation in White Bear, Minnesota, where she served as senior minister for many years. She writes, "People ask me sometimes, is this a gay church? It is a privilege to answer. Absolutely, gladly, hopefully, and humbly. Gaily, a gay church, a gay tradition where everyone, including heterosexual members and friends, is welcome, where everyone is needed, where everyone's experience is cherished as a sacred text. Because no one's experience of living or loving can be comprehensive. Because each of us holds clues the others need about how to live with dignity and joy as a human person. And none of us knows enough about that yet to be considered whole. So it is absolutely a gay church, even as ours is a gay world, if you would look around. Gay church, straight church, people's church, a human congregation made holy by the holy hopes and fears of all who wish to come. Come in, we say. Come out. Come in. We're all in this together. She continues, I will not speak of tolerance with its courteous clenched teeth and bitter resignation. I will not speak about acceptance of other people and some other kind of lifestyle. I can only look in laughing wonder at human life in all its carnations. I can taste only in passing the breath of the spirit of life in my mouth and understand our common longing to breathe in deep, deep gulps of it. I cannot think of anybody else. I cannot think of being anybody else's ally, even, because even that implies some degree of separation, some degree of safety for some of us, but not for all. We are allied with no one and nothing but love. The larger love transcending all our understanding, within which all the different, differing, gorgeously variant, various, beautifully deviant aspects of ourselves are bound in elegant unity. I know that on some sad and disappointing days, these words describe the church that yet shall be and not the church that is, she concludes. I know. I know. But I know too that to answer is an act of creation. To answer this question and some others is a privilege, a prophetic imperative, a joy, a duty, and a holy sacrament.
Reverend Sean Neil Barron is one of the ministers at the Foothills Church in Colorado. For those of you who attended the Meet the Moments events earlier this year, he was one of the speakers in the videos of multiple speakers wearing the "Be More Gay" across his chest in rainbow letters. He put out a call for blessings last year, blessings for LGBTQ plus folks. Reverend Sean then, as the editor, published a small book called Glitter Blessed, Already Whole, Already Holy, here up on the chancel, Blessings for Queer and Trans Lives. It was published in late 2025. He had asked for readers to review before publishing on Facebook, and I offered, and he accepted. I was so moved by several of the pieces, I asked if I might submit something. Sean is fierce and fabulous and incredibly gracious. The book is organized by sections: for the morning, as in morning, for the breaking points, for the celebrations, for the quiet moments, for the fight, and for the future. Reverend Margie Allen is going to read one of Sean's pieces in the section called For the Quiet Moments, called Blessing for the Ones Still Figuring It Out.
Listen, the closet isn't always a cage. Sometimes it's a cocoon A laboratory, a place where truth ferments in its own sweet time. The world will tell you to hurry up, pick a lane, choose a label, as if your heart were Amazon Prime and truth arrives with free shipping. Pay them no mind. Your timeline belongs to you, not to Pride Month deadlines, not to coming out day countdowns, not to well meaning friends who think visibility is the only kind of courage. Some of us are archaeologists of our own hearts, brushing dirt from buried truths with the gentleness of someone who knows that broken things can still be priceless. You are already perfect in your uncertainty, already whole in your hiddenness, already claimed by a love so fierce it doesn't need a spotlight to burn bright. The queer ancestors whisper, "We survived the silence so you could set your own volume." Take your time. Remember, it's all beauty.
The coming out process is unique to each who embarks on the journey. And for most of us, it's lifelong. Every day or every week or every month, we may meet someone new, and then we get to decide whether to share a part of who we are or not. It's not always the gigantic disclosure ripe with anticipatory fear, the fear of being rejected by the person or people who you love and who you think love you that you're about to tell. Quite often, it's in the little interactions in the day to day. When I call the credit card company or a business to ask a question, or when the doctor's office calls me back to schedule an appointment, I sometimes say something like, "I need to check with my spouse." And almost every time, they assume that that is a man. "Oh, what's his name?" Or "Is he on the account?" That sort of thing. It's an erasure. These seemingly harmless assumptions that can easily be avoided with some training and care and practice. A customer service representative could easily say, "What's their name? Is your spouse on the account?" The erasure takes its toll. Yesterday at Schenectady Pride, we were helping to staff the multi-faith tent, and one of the fabulous drag queens sang an old Pride favorite, "I am what I am," from the musical La Cage aux Folles. I am what I am. I don't want praise. I don't want pity. I bang my own drum. Some think it's noise. I think it's pretty. So what if I love each sparkle and each bangle? Why not try to see things from a different angle? So many of us love this anthem because it reminds us we are indeed worthy, that who we are matters, no matter how many times white Christian nationalists and woefully ignorant politicians try to legislate us out of existence. We're here. We've always been here. We will always be here. Queer and trans, bisexual and gay, lesbian and gender queer, questioning, intersex, two-spirit, aromantic, non-binary, and demi, masks and femmes, and everything in between and beyond. And not all of us can shout who we are. That doesn't make our lives a sham necessarily, as we heard in the earlier reading about coming out in our own time, in our own way. We all live in the interstitial dance of integrity and when to choose to share who we truly are, no matter what sexual orientation or what gender identity or what questions we have. Because sometimes coming out is an important because sometimes coming out about an important part of ourselves sometimes means losing people, which sometimes means needing to choose our family or to expand our biofamily with those who are truly kin, whether related by blood or not. In addition to the book Reverend Sean helped publish for this Pride season, he put out an asking for blessings for some zines. Now, if you're not familiar with zines, they're like little chapbooks, sometimes hand designed, sometimes on a computer, nothing fancy, often simply type or drawings. He published 8 zines called Pocket Blessings. The third is called For Kindred, for Family. UUSS member Randy Jennings is going to read one of those blessings written by Reverend Hannah Villeneuve. It's called For the Families We Make.
Woven together out of circumstance and commitment, and something like free will, choosing our family takes hold of the most tender places inside of us. For every time we wonder if it would be easier to go it alone, let love show us that we were made to offer our lives to each other. For every time we wish that others could not see us so fully, let love show us that without risk we could not grow. For every time our hearts break, let love show us that its great miracle is not to prevent heartbreak, but to teach us to hold one another through it. Unitarian Universalism partnered with the United Church of Christ over 25 years ago to create Our Whole Lives, which is a health and sexuality curriculum created in age-appropriate increments of learning, with curricula for children and youth and adults. We help UUs of all ages learn about our bodies, our identities, and ethical concepts like consent, reproductive health care, and more. Most UUs understand the difference between sexual orientation, sex assigned at birth, and gender identity, because they are often conflated these days, and because we humans are clever and creative, and thus are always finding new ways to express ourselves. And science continues to learn more about the biological, intellectual, emotional, and other factors that contribute to people being people. It is good to keep learning and to keep reading.
Randy is also one of our OWL facilitators. We are so grateful for all those teachers. Last year, Megan McLaren and Jolynn Backus attended trainings to be qualified to facilitate the Our Whole Lives or OWL curricula for adults. And this winter and spring, they offered the classes that were created for adults ages 50 and older. We're so grateful for the care that they put into leading those and for the folks who participated. OWL classes can offer gentle invitations to remain curious about one's perspectives, to hold our judgments lightly, and to remember that for some people, maybe even themselves, a person's identities and their understandings of them continue to change over time. The adult OWL curriculum includes a quote from a 67-year-old man who first had an intimate relationship with a man at age 17, came out as homosexual at the age of 35, and as bisexual at the age of 45. He says, "This may be hard for anyone to understand. For many of us, it's not cut and dried. That we are sure of who we are is not the question. But how to be who we are has never been okay in our lives with anyone. It's the reason we have such a huge trench to climb out of. We never had peer support, teaching, or coaching. There wasn't a class in high school that taught how to change the world's perception of you to the one you are just now brave enough to declare. To watch those before us get cut down, shut down, and we think, how can I endure that? There's got to be another way. We know that for some of you and for some of the people in your lives, this is a familiar and difficult journey. My own coming out was also in stages, but not particularly fraught. I realized when I was 18, that I could feel attracted to a variety of people, that I was and am queer. The person I married in my 20s is a cisgender man. And when people saw us together, they saw me as a heterosexual. I was still queer, just partnered with a man. 20 years later, we separated, and I reminded my daughter what I explained to her when she had been taking the OWL class for 7th and 8th graders, that I'm queer, and if I wasn't married to her dad, that I might date a woman, a man, or someone who was genderqueer. And you can see how that turned out. Who I was, who I am, was never the question. Who I love has changed. And now I'm also a minister. Over the years, I have come to know some different understandings of what it means to be a cisgender queer woman in a society that offers protections for some of my identities and marginalizes or even threatens others. Unitarian Universalists have worked for equity and justice for decades. This is my religious home. It is also why yesterday at Schenectady Pride, I offered glitter blessings to anyone who wanted one. I shared a dash of biodegradable glitter mixed with aloe vera gel, creating a bit of sparkle on the recipient's cheek or arm or hand, their choice. Consent matters. And I offered a blessing such as you are a shining and sacred being, and all of who you are is worthy of love and joy and fabulousness. Some people grinned, others got teary, others got quiet and let the words soak in, and then said, thank you.
In 1969, at a small bar in New York City, just like bars all over the country that tolerated or maybe even allowed gay men and drag queens and others on the margins to be there, patrons were regularly harassed by the police. But one night, or really it was really early in the morning of June 28th, the patrons at the Stonewall Inn in Greenwich Village said, enough, and fought back over the course of a few nights for the Stonewall uprising. Drag queens and trans women and gay men and lesbians and bisexuals and questioning folks and their friends fought for the right to be, to live without harassment, without discrimination, without fear and reprisal. That launched what we now call Pride. Pride marches for equity, for celebration, for protest and party, as Barbara read earlier, to simply be who we are and love who we love. And the alphabet of inclusion has continued to expand. Though we have made some progress since 1969, we have yet to come even close to ending discrimination. And in fact, in the past 18 months, transgender people, those of us who live beyond the binary, have been under constant attack by the government. Easy targets for bullies. But we're still here saying enough. We will keep showing up for our dignity, for our rights, for one another, to be able to be the most fabulous people each of us is called to be, to create the families we feel called to create, to raise children or not, to go to worship, to grow old if we are so lucky. and some of us are not so lucky. We just want to live our lives. And we want others, all of us, to be able to flourish too. But fear is a powerful and effective weapon. So honestly, we need more of you to speak up, to contact legislators, to interrupt your uncle's obnoxious jokes or whoever the relative is, to ask why your doctor or dentist doesn't ask for pronouns, to remember that gender affirming care is actually for all of us, and to lovingly correct people here and elsewhere when they don't respect someone's new relationship or new name or their pronouns. We don't want to be tolerated. We want to live and love and do something meaningful with the time we have on this precious earth. In the zine mentioned earlier, Reverend Sean has a pocket blessing called Blessing for Putting Your Kids to Bed in These Times. He wrote, "The world is on fire and you are reading Goodnight Moon again. The world is on fire and you are negotiating the third glass of water. The world is on fire and you have read every law they passed this week and you are still tucking the blanket the way they like it. You have already taught them which words are for school and which for home, and you hate that you had to. May the small rituals do their old work. May the night light be a sentinel of your steadfastness. May you remember that this moment is the whole reason we fight. May you forgive yourself for the days the news made you brittle. May they wake up safe. May they wake up rested in love, unafraid. May the world they inherit be a little softer because of the night you gave them." There are some copies of some of those zines on the edge of the chancel if you'd like to pick one up after the service, and a few bonus unicorn coloring sheets. Today, we honor those who struggled, who resisted, so that all of us might experience more freedom. Let us do our part so that the generations who come after us know even more liberation, even more joy. Let us keep the history and the stories alive because those queer and trans lives made a difference. May we all grow ever more kind, compassionate, and courageous, whatever our gender, whatever our orientation, because remember, rainbows have nothing to hide, and all of who you are is worthy of love and joy and fabulousness. May it be fabulously so. Amen. And blessed be.